and welcome to the Main Contain Fishing Podcast and on the Paddle and Fin Network as well. Man, we're going to kick it old school tonight, folks. We're bringing back a guest. I'm pretty sure everybody knows by the thumbnail, but we used to be host together on the Main Contain Fishing. So we're going to bring back Beanie Outdoors. So if y'all stay tuned with us, we're going to kick it old school here shortly. Let me see if I can bring him on here. There we go. There's Mike. Man, it's been a long time since I did a podcast. I'm not good with my controls anymore.
Dude, it doesn't matter how long you do it. Dude, I did one last week and I looped my intro, but only we could see it in the green room. So like everybody was watching us stare at the screen, but they couldn't see the actual intro playing again. So we were confused. Yeah, it happens.
Man, we got a chat going on here with a couple of people.
Yeah, I see quite a few in here. I see some of the regulars in here for sure.
From the regular old school regular folks, man. But yeah, it's been a while since me and Mike. To give y'all a little history about me and Mike, we started talking, kind of chatting up, and we decided to start a podcast, and then we kind of parted our ways. But I thought I'd bring him back for an old school series. So yeah, man, it's nice to have you back on the cast.
Dude, it's funny because you kind of are the reason why the Spawn became a thing. So the Spawn podcast originally started as like I need to make content in the off season, right? But it was never really meant to be its own thing. It was just something to do. And then we did the May Contain for a while. And then like I got kind of the bug for doing it every week because I was only doing mine every other week or sometimes once a month. And then I was doing yours on the alternate weeks. And like, it's funny how a podcast can get its own life. And that's kind of what happened with the Spawn for me, man, is like, I ended up porting it to Spotify and like, I have just as much fun coming on here and talking fishing than I do fishing some days, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. In which I hadn't been in the podcast limelight for a couple of weeks, just with tournament stuff going on and things like that, and trying to get everything scheduled for tournaments. And I've got all kind of tournaments running now. I've even, to give everybody something to see, if you go over to Tourney X and look up SCG KBF, you'll see everything that we've got to offer. We got a couple of things. We got an old school coming back, which is the Bank Boat and Kayak series. So it's nationwide. I started the Fry this year. So that's your 5 smallest bass.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So even if you catch a 4-incher, put him on that catch board or that Yak Attack leaderboard and measure away. And I got the rod bender. If you know what that is, just your 5 biggest bass. So that's like a year-long thing. You just pay the 1 entry fee and you fish all year long. And them 2 series, if anybody wants to get in them, man, you can fish from the bank, a boat, kayak, sup board. Just kind of, it's just kind of to compete. That's it. And then the winner who wins it all will get a gift certificate to their choosing of what tackle store, online tackle store. So,
oh, that's cool. That's a good prize, dude. See, sometimes I have a hard time. Like, I've wanted to do giveaways on my channel, but sometimes like it's hard to give away like certain prizes. Like, tackle stores are regional, so like, you know, up here we don't have Academy, we don't have Shields, we don't have, you know, even Bass Pro. For me, the closest Bass Pro is like 2.5 hours.
Good God.
You know, so like I can't be like, oh yeah, the guys up here, dude. you know how much stuff I just got an order from Tackle Warehouse. Matter of fact, I have a $150 t-shirt sitting downstairs right now. You know, most expensive t-shirt, most expensive free t-shirt in America. But you know, that's what I do, dude. Honestly, I order from Tackle Warehouse, but it's always hard to like find a good tackle store around here. That's what sucks for me.
Oh yeah. I've got a Bass Pro within about 10 minutes of me, but I like Academy better.
So,
Like a big box store. I like
yep,
Academy better. Their Halo bait or their whatever they call their store brand. I
yep.
think it's Halo, isn't it? I think that's what they
I
or
think
something
so.
like that.
Like that, yeah.
Some of their baits look really well and have good hooks on them. You don't have to change out the hooks and things like that. But they're supposed to be building one maybe like an hour up the road in South Carolina. So that'd be cool.
I heard they're putting a Bass Pro closer to me in New York, but um I will say, dude, and this is probably not going to make a lot of people all that happy to hear, but I'm not really that big a fan, and maybe it's just the ones around me. Bass Pro doesn't really impress me. Like, there's some stuff that, so around me, like one thing I can't get a lot of is Berkeley products. For some reason, all the like stores around me are more Sixth Sense centric than Berkeley. So you can get like some power bait stuff, but like your crankbaits are all Sixth Sense, Strike King. They're not. It's very much not like Berkeley centric. And I like certain things from Berkeley that I have to order from Tackle Warehouse because I can't get them locally. And I've even ordered stuff from Academy. I probably honestly ordered more stuff from Academy, Shields, and Omnia than I have Bass Pro.
Yeah, I've got a place on Omnia order myself. If y'all don't know, if you get the Pro Series of Omnia, you get free shipping in the first drop.
Get
And
do that.
I think it's worth the price, man.
It is. So the thing is, you know what I was ice fishing? We're talking about the ice fishing in the green room. So you guys will actually see it in some of the ice fishing videos, the mapping. So if you get the Omnia Pro app, it's like $50 a year. You get free shipping, and not only do you get free shipping, they do like cash back bonuses and stuff like that. And on top of it, the baits are cheaper a lot on Omnia. Like you'll pay like 50 cents less for a pack of baits on Omnia than you will at like Amazon.
Yeah,
So you're getting free shipping, a cheaper bait, and it's $50, and you get that Omnia app, which that Omnia app is actually really cool.
yeah, it's I mean, I was just uploading some fish to it today on because I met Matt and I did a podcast with him.
That's cool.
He's one of the owners, and so I've been like, if I needed a lake added or a body of water added, I just email their tech guy and say, hey, this is a public fishing area. Can you add the map? Can you add it to the lake
Oh,
to the
really?
yeah
That's cool.
to the app, and then I can put all the information in there I need as far as submitting fish and
That's cool.
information that people will look for. But
Dude,
yeah,
the thing about that app is
Michael Bradley says the store name brand for Academy is
H2O.
H2O.
Yep, that makes sense.
H2O. Yeah, yeah. I knew it was something like that.
Yep.
I've only
Yeah,
been
so
in the
that
Academy store one time.
really, yeah, see that, so that Omnia app, what I was saying about that is like, so here's the thing about that app is there's two things that are cool about it. One, it gives you multiple different mapping options. So like if they don't have a good C map, there is another mapping option in there. And this is going to sound really stupid, but the wind layer on the map for me is extremely helpful because and if you guys don't know about this, but basically you pull up the map of where you're fishing and you turn on this layer in the mapping for wind layer, and it will tell you which way the wind is blowing to. So you can find those wind blown banks, those bays. You can figure out which direction that the bait fish are probably going to be forced to. And for me, it sounds stupid because I can just look it up and go, oh yeah, it's a north wind, so it's coming out of the north. But like, it's hard for me to mentally draw a line to where the wind is because I don't necessarily know the orientation of the lake when I'm on it. It's hard to figure out where north is in my mind. So being able to use that wind layer is just really, really effective to be able to figure out where those fish are going to be pushed into.
Yeah, I just put it on our screen right here where
Oh,
everybody can
perfect.
see what we're talking about. The little marks that are blowing across the screen is the wind
Yeah.
here in my area right now. It's kind of moving slow. It's only, golly, I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
no wind.
Yeah, it's like dead. But yeah, it's a
You can actually
no-brainer,
see
man.
it come across. And for what you pay for it, like you put in like 2 orders and you basically paid for the year between the shipping, especially with the way shipping costs is right now and everything.
Yeah, it's a it's a no-brainer. And it's in my opinion when it's on the when you got it on your phone as an app and you got it readily available to you,
Oh,
man,
dude,
you
it's
you can it's kind of sick because you can turn these.
yeah. In case you guys don't believe, there it is, right there.
Yeah,
I run it all the time.
yeah.
It's
Let me.
actually what's really nice for it too is um what I use it for is like scouting. Like if I'm gonna go fishing a lake soon and I'm just sitting there watching TV, sitting on the couch, I'll zoom in on a lake like what you're doing right there. I'm doing that on my phone, and you can actually mark waypoints from your couch and be like, oh, I should fish this little bay or this little hole or this little pocket.
And with that new Lowrance unit you fixing to run, you can actually you can map out the lake that you're fishing
Yep.
and upload it to here,
Yep.
and it'll be available to you 24/7.
Yeah, I've actually got to put a memory card in that. So for those of you who haven't been following my channel, or most of you guys in the chat, I see all my regulars in there, but you guys know because I've been talking about it on the spawn a lot. But I picked up the Eagle Eye 9, and it has like the basic C map in it. I can buy the upgraded card and slap that in there if I want to get even more. But it also has the SD card slot that I can do, and it does the contour drawing and all that stuff too. So
Oh yeah, that let me tell you, I do it on my Humminbird Helix 7, but yeah, John, we're talking about the Omnia Pro as well. You can upload your fishing reports to the
yep,
Omnia, and you actually, if somebody buys your uses your report to buy that bait, then you get like a $5 credit.
yeah, they
Like,
gave you like a kickback. Yeah,
yeah, I'm a gold series, so I get $10 back.
nice.
And so it gets credit to your account where you can use it to buy. It's not like in a um I guess
It is though. Let's be
it
honest.
yeah.
For fishermen, giving me credit in baits is giving me cash because I'm gonna spend that money on baits anyways. Like realistically, you give me $20, I'm gonna go spend $20 on baits anyways. From now until November, that's where a lot of my free money goes anyways. So if I don't have to spend that money on the baits, then it really is putting money back in my budget.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. So yeah, man, it's I know y'all been covered up with some serious snow up there, and you were talking to me earlier today in the Instagram message that
Yeah.
your waters are fixing to open up a little bit.
Yeah, so we've got dude, that's one thing that's funny. I was talking about this actually recently in a different podcast. Like, what's funny is I actually think I don't want to move south. And I know it sounds really stupid to most people, but I actually really appreciate the spawn, I think, more than if I could fish all year long because ice fishing this year has been special because we don't normally get the quality of ice that we got this year. So normally you can't just go pick a lake and go fish. It's like there's 2, maybe 3 lakes in higher elevation that were safe ice, and everywhere else you're kind of really putting your life in your hands, hoping that you don't have a problem. This year, we had like 16 to 18 inches of ice on most lakes. Like guys were driving 1-ton diesels and campers on this stuff. Like it was like insane. Like I'm not a advocate for that, and I've actually gotten put in Facebook jail for yelling at people for driving vehicles on lakes, but I literally got yelled at. As your profession, you'll probably appreciate it as someone who is a public safety person. My exact comment was it should be illegal to have vehicles on the lake, period. I don't care.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be legal. And you, as someone who's in this safety world, there are certain times of the year where I think, in my opinion, and this is going to be really, really controversial and it's going to make me sound like an insensitive jerk, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I think if you go out in conditions when there's 2-3 inches of ice and you drive a vehicle out on the water, or you do dumb, risky maneuvers to go catch perch while ice fishing, you're not getting a first responder. You're not getting help. You're on your own, because we've had too many first responders end up in the hospital because these idiots wanted to go drive a truck on 2 inches of ice because they wanted to go ice fishing. It's too many people's lives. And up here, like, fire and rescue is all volunteer. They're not even paid. They're not even full time.
Oh Lord.
These are people that are leaving work to come pull your ass out of the lake because you wanted to go jig for perch on 2 inches of ice. And I got literally Facebook banned because I went on this whole rant because I'm like, it's just stop. You don't need to drive your F-150 on the lake. If you can't walk out there, you can't ice fish. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just dumb.
It's just dumb to me.
That's like running in a burning building with no protective clothing on.
Yeah, it's just, and don't get me wrong, I ice fish and I ice fish sketchy conditions, but I'm not driving a 3,000-pound piece of steel out there. Like, you're just asking to have a problem and then complain. Oh no, my truck went in. Yeah, duh.
Yeah, that's just risky and dumb.
So, but yeah, I'm off my soapbox on that, because to go back to what you were saying before, my home lake opened up. Lake Bomazine, which is like the more well-known lake near me, is almost there. So that's actually my first tournament lake this year, because I'm actually running the My Slay Nation Trail this year. I took over as the director, so that's the first tournament event. It's going to be in May, so I got to get out there and start practicing soon. So I'm hoping that opens up so I can get out there and do a shakedown cruise with a new kayak and really get everything dialed in. As you know, like, I don't care how many times you fished out of a kayak. I have thousands of hours in my old town, but I got a brand new kayak, and there's this dumb little things like, oh, I don't like where those rod holders are, or I don't like where this bait box goes, or I need to sort it's just tweaks I got to get in there before the season starts.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's let's talk about the spawn a little bit. When did y'all spawn happen up there? like June, July?
Depends on the lake. So my home lake, it actually happens early. It's really weird. So it's late May, like just past Mother's Day typically. But there's a lot of, like, Champlain, I've heard as late as June in some years. It depends on how quickly the ice out happens. And but what really happens most of the time up here, and that's what gets really weird, is you get a week. So, like, and a lot of times it's not staged like it is in other places in the country. You could literally miss it. Like, some lakes you'll miss it.
Yeah, because down here, I went fishing today, and there was still some on the beds. The bucks were still on the beds. The females had already got off of them, because the water temperature was 67.5 degrees down here today.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so I ended up catching a bunch of bucks, off the beds, and just having a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
You're jerking and ripping, son. Jerking and ripping.
So that's my plan. So my home lake is open. And that is the lake where it's kind of cheating almost. So it's a reservoir that has essentially 3 spawning flats. There's basically 3 bays, and that's where all the fish go. So, and I know exactly where they're going. I know exactly roughly when they're going to be there. And off of those 3 spawning bays, the deep area is like 20 feet. So it's real simple to find them. Like
Yeah.
it's basically if they're not in the 5 to 6 foot spawning flat, they're out in 20 feet and you go throw a lipless. Like it's that simple. Like it's that kind of lake. So that lake is where I'll be going Friday, and that's like you said, it's going to be throwing a lipless. I will throw a wacky rig at times if I feel like they're being real finicky, because sometimes if you just suspend a wacky rig, they'll hit that. But it's a lot of like power fishing this time of year. It's crankbaits,
Crankbait,
chatterbaits, all of that stuff, and
jerk.
it's just go out there and and then if you want to get them again with the forward facing sonar, that's going to be where I'm trying to teach myself how to use it, and this is the lake I'm going to do it on, because I don't want to say like you never really truly know, but at the end of the day, if you have as many hours as I do on certain lakes, you know where the stages are.
Oh
So
yeah.
like I know how to backtrack them, and I know if they're not here, they're here, and if they're not here, they're there. So then I'll be able to take that forward facing sonar, go shine them, get that jerk bait out, see if they're reacting to it. And then, like you said, the jerk bait is one of those baits in the early season. And honestly, one thing that people overlook too is like swim baits, like your 6-inch jointed
Yeah.
swim baits and glide baits, because they sometimes will hit that bigger bait because they're still coming into their like, they don't want to chase 10 minnows when they can eat one big bluegill and be done
That's
for the
right.
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's I've been looking at some big glide baits. I've got a gentleman. He makes them personally here in Georgia,
yep.
and he doesn't put a real good shine on them. That's what I like about them. Gerald Swindle did a post. The first thing he does with his crankbaits and all that, he takes a piece of sandpaper to them and takes all the shine off of them.
A lot of guys do that. The problem is, so the guys who hand paint, the clear coat they're using adds a gloss, and there's not really any good clear coats out there that don't add a shine to your bait. It's
Yeah.
just a thing. So I know guys will do. I do it with square bills. I will rough up the shine on a square bill because I do like matte. I actually personally like matte colors. I was just talking about like the Max scent thing. So like Berkeley, I fish Max scent not for the scent. Now I do think that there is something specifically to Max scent, but I fish Max scent baits because they're more matte color. If you look at all the Max scent baits, they're black, they're Junebug, they're green pumpkin, aren't shiny. They're more of it's the material that the Max scent is made out of doesn't have a gloss to it.
Right.
Versus the power bait or like your Senkos or your Yum Dingers, those have a shine to them. And I do think in certain situations that matte color looks more natural. And I personally think that those matte colors work better than the shiny ones, but
Yeah.
that might just be my own thing.
I'm fixing to throw up on the screen right here, right quick. So, kind of show you this. There you go.
Those are
Yeah, I need to get into the big swim bait kick, I reckon. And
look familiar.
gotta,
Pretty much the same bait, dude.
yeah,
That's an A-Bay paint job, but yeah, dude, these are fun to fish because when you actually just play around with them, you don't have to do all this fancy crap that a lot of guys do. You can just reel these. Like you don't. A lot of guys think you have to do all this fancy rod, twitch, jerk, slash. No, you literally just go boom, 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 and this bait will go down the lake, and they'll come and pound it. It's, I mean, you can get like I literally because I'm literally packing for going fishing tomorrow, so I have a bunch of baits right here. But like, you can fish your mag drafts, your simple plastic. You know, basically a mag draft is just a big Kitech.
Or a coal
People
shaft.
get it. People get intimidated by them. And honestly, I'll say one of the best ones I highly recommend trying if you guys want to get into it, and it's fairly light and you can pretty much cast on anything, is the 6th Sense Trace. So the
That's
6th Sense Trace is it's a jointed swim bait. It's like a bluegill profile. It's more of a shad kind of profile. And that thing is not very heavy. And you could, like, I throw mine on a medium heavy and it's fine. And
about a half ounce.
It's like it's a little over a half ounce. It's not super heavy, and it has a good like S action. You can just slow roll it, and it just looks like a swimming bluegill. And especially, and for those of you up in the Northeast, I can't speak for Southern. That's Daniel's area. Up here, bluegill pre-spawn and spawn. There is a world war that happens in every northern lake from now until spawn, where bluegill are spawning and the bass eat their eggs, and then the bass spawn and the bluegill eat their eggs, and then the pike spawn and they all eat each other's eggs. And there's this constant territory aggression level fight where a bass will literally hit a bluegill style bait because they're just so pissed off and angry that they're gonna kill it. So those patterns and those baits that look like a bluegill are killer this time of year because the bass are just in this mode where I need to kill this thing.
Yeah, Michael Bradley says that S-Waver is a good start.
Yep.
I've got one of them in a rainbow trout color that a buddy gave me. Tell you the story about that. He had an S-Waver, I guess, malfunction or something. So he sent it back to the company and they sent him the whole box or something like that.
I wouldn't surprise me.
So
S-Waver is pretty popular bait. Like it's pretty common.
Yeah.
Now you are going to spend more money on these. Be aware that you're not going to get them for, like, I like the Trace because it's like a $25 bait, but it's a $25 bait.
Yeah, you could buy one of them Mike Buka bull shads or something like that, man. You dropping $100.
Nothing. You should see the trade shows I go to. So trade shows I go to, there is a dude, local painter. He carves his own, paints them, or sometimes he collabs with other people to paint them. He brings 300 to a trade show, sells 100 a day. People pay an extra $20 to get a VIP early bird pass to get into the trade show an hour early. And they all go to his booth and they buy 100 baits. He shows up to every trade show and is sold out in 45 minutes. $250 a pop. That
man making a killing.
He makes $2,500 in 45 minutes and then goes and drinks at the bar until the next trade show. It is the most, and the thing is, those guys will buy two because he limits to two per person so more people can get them. Guys will buy two and then turn around and flip one for $350 on eBay, and people will buy that one.
Oh wow!
Because he only does drops, so he only releases baits at certain points, and people, that swim bait culture as a whole, I get it. I fish them, I use them. I'm not 300. I have toothy critters up here. I'm not throwing a $300 bait that a pike is almost inevitably going to steal from me at some point. It's just not going to happen.
Oh no, I wouldn't fish them. I wouldn't fish the any of them glide baits in the rivers down here either because of our chain pickerel, jackfish, whatever you call it.
Yeah, and almost every lake I fish has pike or pickerel. So
yeah,
or walleye.
I get pissed off when they take my damn worm from me.
Yeah, when they take my grande bass, like 17-cent ring fry worm, I'm mad. Let alone my $300. I'm going in. Me and that pike are gonna have a conversation face to face if he takes my $300 bait.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Hey, man, we've been going for about 30 minutes. We're going to kick it to a commercial break right quick
Sure.
and bring you right back.
There's a world out there waiting to be explored. But true freedom requires a different kind of power. Power that's reliable, sustainable, and built to keep up with your adventurous spirit. Wattcycle provides strong and stable power.
It's a really good deal.
These are great little batteries. They have high temperature, low temperature sensors.
Really high quality cells come in these things now.
So far, so good. Everything seems to be efficient.
Well, it did everything that it said it would do.
Wattcycle's lithium iron phosphate batteries utilize advanced battery management and thermal control technologies to ensure exceptional performance and reliability. We only use premium grade A cells, selected for their high energy density, superior safety, and impressive cycle life of up to 15,000 charges. Wattcycle is proud to serve over 300,000 customers, empowering homes, businesses, and communities around the world with sustainable energy solutions. Our batteries are engineered to provide clean, efficient power for your renewable energy systems. Wattcycle, versatile power solutions for every adventure. Experience freedom on the road. Stay out on the water longer. Hit the greens with confidence. Secure your home's energy needs. Maximize your solar potential and more. Wattcycle Power Infinite.
Hey, and welcome back to the Man Contain Fishing. Man, Wattcycle Batteries has been my sponsor this year. And I can tell you for sure that the power on them lasts for days. I have yet to charge my 50 amp, and I've used that for almost 2 months straight now, powering a Helix 7 Humminbird with side imaging, down imaging, and then all my GoPros as well. So if you want to use the code SEGKBF25, that's SEGKBF25, you can save yourself a little bit of money when you purchase Wattcycle batteries. So for the second part of the show, man, we're gonna bring Mike back on, and we're gonna get this thing rolling again and talk a little bit more fishing. Hey, welcome back to the show, Mike.
I can actually attest as a Wattcycle affiliate myself. I used mine for, I've only got 6-7 hours on it, but 6-7 hours running forward facing sonar, 2 GoPros, lights, and charging my phone, and I use 6% of my 100 amp hour.
Yeah,
That's a lot. I don't know if you've used forward facing sonar and know how much power that sucks down. And here's the thing, and this is what's cool, because I've got the mini. I bought the 100 amp hour mini with the Bluetooth. I literally can take my phone and check where it's at. That is huge, because in your kayak it's stored, so you can't really go look at it. And it's a voltmeter on, like, it's cool that you can see that it has 13 volts, but that doesn't tell you how much time you have left. It just tells you that it's not dead yet, right?
Yeah.
Being able to pull it up, pull the app up and go, oh, I have 96% battery power left. And it tells you how much draw and all that. So you can literally tell, like, how you could be like, yeah, I've got plenty of battery left to keep rolling. That's the cool part about those batteries.
Yeah, it's I use mine, man, on Lake Juliet. We had the Georgia Tour Kayak Series this past month, and the wind was blowing outrageous, dude. I'm talking about. I've got to a point where I just stayed in 2 coves all day long because I was trying to run some points, and I'm talking about I look like the Titanic out there, just capsize, just
Been there. Yep.
You know, you kick that trolling motor on, and I run a 55-pound thrust, and man, it was barely moving me about a mile per hour in that wind. But I only used 33% that day running.
That's crazy.
In the wind. Yeah, it is. Lithium versus lead, man, it's a no-brainer.
Well, and it's a combination.
I don't know whoever started this lithium craze, but it's become a market now.
In a kayak, to be honest, if you're using lead acid, AGM, you need to stop. Because at this point, especially with the pricing right now, you go to Watt Cycle, you can buy a 50 amp hour for not much more than you're paying for that lead acid at Walmart.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's golly, I can pull up their website right quick.
They're not super expensive, and like I said, I've worked with them. I'm super impressed with the quality and just the build up. Like simple things, like I don't know how yours 50 came, but like little touches, like my 100 amp hour came with 2 extra terminal bolts.
Yeah, that they gave you
Like
they gave the extra terminal bolts in
like
there.
that right there alone is an attention to detail that other companies I've dealt with don't have. And it's like I've lost terminal bolts and then had to try to figure out what size thread and how to, like, they just send you 2 backup ones by default. Like that's just a cool little touch that you don't think about, but it's simple, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. Is I spoke with the it's kind of weird because it was like at 10 o'clock at my time and 6 o'clock their time.
Dude, it's
Talking-
really
talking
weird
China.
calling them out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good call though with Jennifer and
Yep.
and them but yeah, so here it is. Man, you can get you a 100 amp, 12 volt 100 amp Life Pro battery, Group 24, Group 31 for $159.99.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's up 45% off.
You're gonna spend $90 to $100 for a Deep Cycle Marine quick start battery at Walmart.
Yeah, and
it's
even
a
the
lead acid that weighs 75 pounds. These are light too. Like if you look at these batteries, if you look at the weights on them, like I think mine's like 30 pounds, 27 pounds for a 100 amp hour battery.
Yeah, it's let me see right here. Is this one? Yeah, this is the one I use.
Yep. Yeah, mine's the mini just because of the form factor of where I had to put it, but it's the same power wise. It's the same, and yours is only like I think 3 pounds heavier than mine.
This one's 24.25 pounds.
Yeah,
yeah. So lithium is a no brainer. You know, everybody's talking about lithium. Man, there's tons of groups out there, but I have to say, Watt Cycle, in their performance, has done me pretty well so far. And like I said, that 50 amp I got, man, I hadn't charged that thing since I got it.
I haven't mine either. I haven't charged. I mean, I'm gonna use it a few times, but like I've used it to like when I was rigging my kayak and playing around. And but getting back to fishing, I have to ask: have you been? When's your first tournament? Have you already had one, or you got more going on?
Oh man, we've kicked a tournament. Well, all my online stuff. We started everything in March.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not fishing. I'm actually being a true tournament director.
Not fishing them, no.
Yeah, I'm not fishing anything as far as our Georgia Tour kayak series. I fish some stuff on Fishing Chaos that I'm in now, like the Strike King stuff, and I'm thinking about getting into the KBF State Challenge because there was only like 5 guys in the State Challenge series for Georgia.
Yep.
So, but I'm gonna have to commit some time to that if I get in it, because I'll have to travel maybe an hour and a half to fish some bodies of water that has some big fish, because that's the only way you're gonna win them things. You got to catch them 20s.
Yep. Yeah, you
can't. You got to have them 100 inches on the board.
Even here, dude, our State Challenge series has like 3 dudes. It's the same 3 dudes every month, and the top 2 guys have over 100 inches every time. So if you're not catching 20s, it's not even worth entering. Now, don't get me wrong. To be fair, and this is not bragging, I live in kind of a bass mecca. I mean, I live in Vermont, so we have a couple of pretty well-known lakes that people know about. 20s are hard, but they're not hard to find. But it's just a matter of, like you said, you got to dedicate the time. You got to go hunt a 20. You can catch a 17, but you got to find a 20. It's
Oh, yeah.
just how it is. Like, those aren't fish that are just hanging out. Those are fish that are smart. They're older. They take a little bit more effort to go find.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's which we, there's a local place here in Savannah that, you just got to. It's fished so much, and I hate to say the word highly pressured, but it's not really highly pressured for bass
Yep.
because there's a lot of people feeding their families off of it.
Yep.
But really, the only two things that you need in there is a pitching and flipping rod and maybe a medium heavy to follow if they miss the pitch and the flip. You can just follow it with a wacky or a weightless Senko and probably catch them. But it's one of them places you have to go every day.
Yep.
For 30 days straight.
Yep.
And my life don't allow that. If it did, I'd be a fishing fool.
Dude, that's, this year is cool for me. So since the last time we hung out, and it's something that I had been talking about like previously, but I finally convinced my bosses to let me go 410s. So I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off now every week. So this will be the first. They kind of started it in October, so I got a couple weeks of it before ice came in. But this is going to be the first spring, like pre-spawn time where I literally have 3 days in a row dedicated to fishing. And my wife works weekends, so literally I can just go fishing because she's at work anyways, and then she comes home and sleeps. So I'm going to be fishing a ton, but there is certain lakes, like you said, that like I have a couple, I call them R&D lakes. So there's lakes that like I can go catch a bunch of little fish. There is big ones in there, but you have to weed through 20 rats to find the big one,
Right.
So you do have to have, and he did give away something that if you guys didn't pick up on that little trick, is a follow-up bait is probably the most important thing you can have in your arsenal. If you can carry 2 rods, if that's something you're capable of doing, have a finesse bait, a wacky rig, a Ned rig, some sort of small finesse bait to go with whatever else you're fishing. If you're fishing, I don't care if it's a crankbait, frog, chatterbait, doesn't matter, because you will get that follow. You will always get that bass that just isn't willing to commit to whatever your power fishing technique is. Sometimes you throw that wacky, that finesse Ned, shaky head, whatever, behind it, and that fish that darted off of your crankbait will go right back to that bait. That's a wicked, overlooked way of fishing.
Yeah, I got a question for everybody in the chat. If you've seen this video or this reel, you're talking about forward-facing sonar, and everybody's talking about pinging a minnow and
Yep.
whatever, shaking a minnow, things like that. But if you haven't, do you know where that technique actually started at? It's an old school. Talking about old school, it's an old school technique.
Yeah, I forget where. Like I used to fish like that before forward-facing sonar, anyways. But like you just didn't know what it was doing. You just kind of shook it. Like
it's called tight lining. It was
okay.
It was started down here in Tennessee. Crappie fishermen, they just tight line and just shook that little minnow and just slowly reeled it.
Yep.
I learned that from Gerald Swindle.
So you know what's funny? You know what I've learned so far from my forward-facing sonar, and this is the weirdest thing. I've only used it once, mind you, but I didn't mark a single fish with it. Just didn't. The body of water I was fishing, it was windy, it was cold, it wasn't a really great day to fish anyways, right? They were probably all laying around the bottom. But you know what I did learn? My wacky rig, more often than not, isn't even making it to the bottom. So I fish I fish a weightless, weedless So it's a reaction tackle weedless wacky head. It's basically like a Nico hook with a wire keeper, right?
Yeah.
I casted it out a bunch of times, and I just had the forward-facing sonar on. I am purposely trying to not be a scoper, and it sounds stupid because I spent $1,000 on a fish finder. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use the fish finder as a tool, but not rely on it. So I'm still trying to fish my way, then have it there to learn from it, right? And what I learned was I casted out my wacky rig like probably 10 times, watched it, fished it, didn't look at my screen at all. Then when I looked at my screen, I realized that my wacky rig was suspended 3 feet off the bottom because I'd closed my bail when I thought that bait had hit bottom, but it didn't. It had basically suspended, but because it stopped falling instinctually, I thought it was on the bottom. And that's something that I'm learning about this technology, is that like what I thought was me laying a bait on the bottom and then popping it off was me actually fishing a suspended. I'm essentially working a minnow bait just like those guys are when they're drop shotting out deep and they're doing the whole pinging a minnow thing. I didn't realize that what I thought was me hitting the bottom and skipping it off the bottom and yo-yoing it was actually me suspending a worm 3 feet off the bottom and actually working it in the column because I thought it was on bottom. And I'm learning these little things. I also learned that like I was fishing a blade bait and I retrieved my baits too fast. I learned that. So I was fishing a blade bait, and when I was watching it on the sonar, I was reeling it at an angle instead of keeping it in the column because I was reeling it too fast. And it's stuff like that that I'm learning. And that's, I think, the overlooked thing about the forward-facing sonar technology is you can learn stuff without, you don't need to see fish for it to be a beneficial technology.
Nah, you know, talking about live sonar and all that, crappie fishermen have been using that stuff for 20 plus years before you even hit the bass market.
Saltwater guys were using it before that. Panoptic started out as a big market in this saltwater game.
Yeah.
Trolling guys that were trolling for king salmon and out there fishing tuna and crap were using it. It just started to work its way into the crappie. That actually worked. It actually worked into the crappie world so much that the tournament started banning it before bass fishermen even started using it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, it's kind of weird talking about forward-facing sonar because everybody's talking about it, but yeah, it's it's a new tool on the market, and everybody, that's just like I saw Jeff Malott. So that was last, I don't know, from KBN, Kayak Bass Nation. Jeff, he made a post today talking about forward-facing sonar, and then in the post said that the Bassmasters and all that have outlawed the Alabama rig. Man, that thing was out. I think that was back in the early 90s.
Yeah, that thing was pretty much banned shortly after it was released.
But that's no different than trying to ban forward-facing sonar. MLF has done it for, you can use it for one period.
Yeah.
What is the NFPL? They
NPFL banned it completely. Yeah, they removed it. We have trails up here, so Slay Nation, New Hampshire banned it.
No, you
the
can't.
Kayak Trail did. They you can only use it for practice. You can't use it during live events. Now, I will say, not to turn this into a forward-facing sonar thing. The one thing I do want to say is, for those of you northern, southern, I don't care where in the country you are, this pre-spawn window is your time to learn your technologies. Whether you have forward-facing sonar, whether you have side imaging, whether you have an old Striker 4 with 2D, this is the time to go out and screw with your settings, dial it in, and it's the same thing with baits. Like Daniel was saying, he wants to think about like big swim baits, things like that. When you hit that For Daniel, it's a little bit different because he's kind of getting into the hot time. He's getting in the time where it's going to start popping off. He's going to start catching bigs. But when your water temperatures are low and you know that you're probably going to be able to catch maybe 1-2 fish, maybe 3 a day before the end of the day because the bite's slow, practice that jerk bait. Practice that spinner bait. Screw with the settings on your electronics, because when the fish bite is on, you're not going to do it because you want to just catch the fish that are there. But when you can get out early season, if you have a day to go out, take an hour and practice those baits, practice those technologies, because you'll be able to use that knowledge for the rest of the year. And it's really honestly a dead time. So it's a good time to shake that rust off. Like, one of the things I learned early season, skipping. There is no better time than the early season to just go out and learn how to skip a bait, because who cares if you don't skip it right? Because you're probably not going to get a fish, or your bites are so limited anyways that you're able to get that technique down, because the only way to practice that is on the water. I don't care. I mean, Daniel can test that. Like, you can't learn to skip anywhere but on the water. Even from the bank, it's not the same as it is from a kayak. It's just not.
It's not. And skipping out of a bass boat versus a kayak is a whole different ball game too.
Same thing with a jerkbait. So you can't. I don't stand in my kayak. Very rarely am I standing. I'm not very confident in my. Now, granted, this new, bigger, heavier boat with the shiny new black pack. Hint, hint, guys. Watch my video that's coming out at the end of the month. That's got the ability to lock my rods in, and I'm less concerned about losing stuff if I do flip it over. But you can't do this in a kayak. It is not an option, because you don't have 8 feet between you and the water. You have 1.5 feet between you and the water.
Yeah, I use a shorter rod. I use a 6.6 rod for my jerk bait. Just because I have that trolling motor on the front, and if I use a 7.2, 7.3 jerk bait rod, it's hitting that I'm jerking way up here instead of kind of parallel.
Yep.
And so I just use that 6.6 rod.
That is another sneaky thing, guys. 6.6, 6.7 is frogging, jerk baits, what I call combat fishing. So when you're fishing like bluff walls with overhanging limbs, and you want to be able to get that cast up underneath those branches, but you want to get up in there so you can hit that cast, that 6.7 rod allows you to have the control and the accuracy and get that rod up under there without having that 7-foot, 8-foot rod that's going to start getting caught in crap. It is probably the biggest cheat code that I have found is, and honestly, if you think about it, a lot of people have been doing that for years, but what they've been doing is, a lot of guys you'll hear, they fish their jerkbait with a spinning rod. The reason for that almost always is because, guess what, guys? Spinning rods are like 6.6. A lot of spinning rods are 6.6, 6.8, 7-foot max. So a lot of guys were using their spinning rod because of the length and the action on a regular medium fast spinning rod is kind of like a regular casting rod, jerkbait rod action. Yeah. So it kind of all ends up being the same.
Yeah, it's when I fish rivers down here, they're so tight that you can't really fish a 7.1, 7.2, 7.3 rod. Oh. But yeah, it's man, it's there's so much information out there that you could talk for 3 days straight and not even get all the information out, because everybody's going to fish different, right?
That's probably the most important thing that you can say too, is me and Daniel could be handed, and I've said this on other shows too, like, you could literally go to a manufacturer and say, I want you to make me 2 rods, 2 reels, 2 sets of line, and a bait, and I want you to make them as anatomically exact as you can. And then me and Daniel can go and cast to the same spot in the lake, and I'll catch a fish and he won't, or he'll catch a fish and I won't. It's not always the rod or the bait. It is the instinct. I will tell you right now that there is places that I will go to that people are going to beat my face in with their ability to fish, even if it's a lake that lends towards my favorite technique. But then there's also lakes that I can go to and say, cast to this lily pad at a 45-degree angle and reel at this rotation speed, and you'll catch a fish every time. It's just something that, like, that's what's cool about this sport, is that there is no way to master the sport. You can't, because your target is a fish, and a fish is adapting to you as you adapt to that fish, and then the fish is also adapting to the environment. So no matter what happens, there's always a learning curve to be had. It's just a matter of becoming well-rounded and being able to understand the situation. The guys who Bassmaster Classic, you just watched last weekend, you watched the best fishermen in the world, right? Were all of those guys fishing that one stump patch that was won? No, there was guys on the other side of the lake fishing in an entirely different way. And some of those guys were only a few pounds out of big paychecks.
Yeah.
And they were all in the same body of water. And these are the best fishermen in the world. And I mean, from what I saw, and I wasn't really paying attention too heavily to baits, but the Bassmaster Classic was won on a Nico rig, guys.
Yep, a Nico rig.
That wasn't a Mega Bass 110. It wasn't a $300 glide bait. It was as old school gets. Now, granted, he was using forward-facing sonar, but the bait was a Nico rig. Yep. That is a $1 hook and a 50-cent worm.
I'm working with it.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, that's the thing, is it's really figure out what your confidence baits are, figure out how you like to fish. And I think that's the biggest mistake that a lot of young anglers and people that are learning to bass fish make, is they try to be like, oh, I need to be a swim bait fisherman. No, if you like going along the bank and fishing a frog, fish a frog. Maybe mix in a jig. Maybe learn different baits for that area. If you're not a guy that likes to go out in the middle of, like, you will never see me, even though I have the technology and I have some of the knowledge, you'll never see me in 60 feet of water drop shotting for 6 hours straight. That's not going to happen because I don't enjoy it and I know it's not my skill set.
I'll pull them out of 60, 70 foot of water.
See, I need to learn it. And that's why I bought forward-facing sonar, because for me, it's very much so I need a target. So if I go down a bank and I've gotten to the point now where if I see 6 trees in a row, I know roughly which tree I want to cast to because it has something different, or like I can pick that apart. If I'm in the middle of the lake, yeah, I can look at the 2D, I can look at the down imaging and see a rock pile or a ditch or a trench. That doesn't mean that much to me. But the forward-facing sonar part, that's kind of not trying to bring that back up, but that's why I bought it. Because I want to find the schools of fish that are suspended. Because I'm not going to sit there and probably dangle a minnow, but I will run a Kitech through there. I'll run a deep diver. I'll yo-yo a lipless. I'll throw a smaller jig. You know, I'm going to fish that school, but I'm still going to fish it my way. And that's what I think the key is guys got to understand that there's room to be a John Cox in the fishing industry. You don't have to be a scoper to win tournaments. I won AOY last year in Slay Nation, and I can tell you right now, 3 of the tournaments I won, I turned my fish finder off halfway through the tournament because I was in 5 feet of water with high visibility and I could see the fish, so I didn't need the fish finder on anymore.
Oh yeah. Talking about turning it off, I usually when I'm bed fishing, like the day I was just going through, standing up, running the trolling motor, looking for them cleared out spots, seeing if there's fish on it, go to the next spot. And because you get in that shallow water and that ping off that electronics is gonna,
it is,
you'll see the fish react to it. I had a school of carp and I had it on, I turned it back on because I wanted to fish some deeper water. And I was going through underneath the little bridge, and the carp were in the shallows right there. And once that signal hit them, man, they dispersed like rats when you turn the
So-
lights off.
If you don't believe him, here's an experiment I want you to do, guys. I want you to take your kayak, right? I want you to take your fish finder. So if you have it on an arm like I do, or if it's underneath your kayak, I want you to turn on your down imaging, and I want you to put your hand about that far from your transducer and listen.
Yeah, it'd go.
You won't feel it, but you will hear.
Yeah,
You can hear it bouncing off of your hand.
and
So
when
you
when
cannot tell me underwater, where if you do this underwater or you clap your hands underwater, if you ever gone underwater in a pool with your friends and yelled,
Yeah.
and you can hear it from one end to the other, I will tell you right now, that's one of the things that I think a lot of guys make the mistake of is if I'm fishing in a situation where I can see, or if I'm fishing in like honestly 6 feet and under, I usually kill my electronics because I've literally had days, I've literally bear fished and said to me one day, my teammate, Slay Nation, he actually hollered to me one day and said, dude, turn your stuff off. Because he was the first one to give me crap about it. Be like, dude, that doesn't matter. It's not, it doesn't really do it. But I've proven it to him over and over again. Like, turn it off. And then all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, those fish start biting.
Oh yeah, it really does. But yeah, man, it's been good talking, Mike. We've been going for an hour, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you sit here talking, fishing, and bullshitting, you kind of
Absolutely.
time kind of flies. But so what do you have planned for in the future? We'll go with that, and we'll kind of end the show with that. What you got planned in the future, man?
I got a lot of stuff coming up this year. My channel's taking a different direction, so I'm starting to do more like series type videos because I found like doing just a bunch of fish catch videos is cool, but like I'm really doing a lot of vacation stuff. So I'm actually going to be doing a lot more camping in my truck, like that ice series that I did. I'm going to be doing a lot of truck camping. I'm trying to go weekly with the Spawn. I wasn't supposed to have an episode this week, but somebody hit me up and said he wanted to hang out and talk, so I ended up jumping on here. But my plan is to go weekly with the podcast. I'm going to be running a tournament trail, and just it's go time for me right now. Kind of just to shut up and stop talking right now. Friday starts my season. Fishing starts Friday, and I'm going to be basically nonstop till October. So
Yeah, it's for me, man. It's been tournament season for golly since beginning of March, but
Yep.
all the online stuff kind of runs itself. It's just these lives that kind of we're this next tournament is held on Clarks Hill, which is on the border of South Carolina, Georgia. It's part of the Savannah River chain, and we are collaborating with Georgia Bass Nation on
nice.
that one. So we've got 2 or 3 tournaments we're collaborating with them on, and then we've got one tournament that we're doing a triple collaboration. That's us, South Carolina Bass Nation, and Georgia Bass Nation. So if you're anywhere down south, any of our listeners are down south and want to fish Clarks Hill, Sinclair, come join us. And Lake Russell. So yeah, man. So you were talking about series on the channel, on your YouTube channel. I've kind of did the same thing as you, Mike, because I've got the hub is on the website at scgkbf.com. So we're trying to push out as much information for when people come to fish down here in South Georgia.
Yep.
They got a one-stop shop. It tells them how to buy the fishing license. They can buy it from there. Tells them the rules and regs. The state of Georgia, man, you go to their website, man, it's just all over the place. You click here, click there. So we're trying to 3 things. I'm doing where I live here in Savannah. We've got a lot of county parks that have fishing available to the public. So we're trying to push out videos to them for them parks, for the public fishing areas for the state of Georgia, and for the state parks for the state of Georgia. So, and some of the rivers, once the rivers get back right, man, they're flooded out right now still.
Right.
But
Yeah, we're still flood stage for most of our stuff right now.
yeah, so but yeah, that's what I've got planned this year, and hopefully your tournament directing will go good for you with Slay Nation. And
Yeah, it's going to be interesting being so I tried to start this trail, failed. The following year it got started by someone else. They didn't want to run it this year, so they handed it off to me and now I'm taking it over, but
is it a single man or a team?
it's a team trail, so it's the Slay Nation Small Vessel Series, so it's a team trail. I'm actually fishing it solo, so you can fish solo if you want, but you can also have a teammate.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting because we can't use apps because where we fish, there's zero service. Like you have no service on the way to the lake, on the lake, so there's no way to submit your fish. So we're doing it old school paper style, essentially.
Paper style.
They're handing me their phone. What I do is I make them put the photos in an album. So they put their top 5 in an album. They hand me their phone, and that's mostly so I don't find surprise pictures of their wife that their wife sent them or something that I don't want to see. Being a tournament director, I'm sure you've seen some weird stuff in camera rolls.
No, actually not, because we've always used that Tourney X app.
But basically, I have like a dry erase board, and they hand me their phone, and I sit there with a calculator and I put it in. But it's going to be a different experience for me because I'm used to just being the guy that runs to the ramp, submits my fish, packs my kayak up, and then hopefully collects my check and goes home. But
right.
So it's going to be a little bit more administration. Matter of fact, I just printed out the permits because we have to file permits for every.
Yeah, you have to file permits up there. That sucks. The only thing we have to do, if we hold anything on like a Georgia public fishing area, we have to, you have to fill out a little application, but most of the time it gets approved within about 2 days, and they just want to know how many people's fishing, and
that's for the most part what they want, but they want from us $50 for each event. And I have to submit a recap at the end of the tournament with all the report of all the fish that were caught.
Oh.
Which is weird because it's really based around bass boats. So they want like weight, and I'm like, I don't have weight. So I have length. So I put length in the weight box. You know, like there's a form I have to fill out, but they're like, well, what's the health of the fish? No idea. I didn't see it. It was a catch and release tournament. So.
But yeah, man, stick with me. I'm gonna close out the show right quick, and everybody, if you haven't joined his YouTube channel, his social medias, go to Benya Outdoors, join them, and follow his in New Hampshire, Maine, or somewhere up there, isn't it? Where are you from, Mike?
Vermont. Yeah,
Vermont.
Same thing, dude. Honestly, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire. It's kind of. Most of us have licenses for all 3, and we fish them all. So,
gotcha. So, yeah, man, we're gonna get this thing closed out, and I'll keep you in the green room for a minute, Mike. And
sure.
I want to ask you something on the back end here. But thank you for joining me on a short notice.
We'll do it again. Yeah, this won't be the last one this year, guys. We'll do some check-ins throughout the year.
Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to find some old bait shops and buy some old baits if anybody's if anybody knows anybody where down south that has some old baits or something. I want to
go get yourself a helicopter lure or a banjo minnow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's what people on YouTube want. I'm like, what the world?
Or honestly, where you are, it'd be really cool to get some of those really old, like actual balsa carve, like those old garage style cranks, like those guys were carving back in the day.
Yeah, I need to hit some garage sales. I'm guaranteed I can find somebody selling their granddaddy's tackle box.
Yep.
But yeah, well, we're going to close out this pod, and thank you for joining, everyone. And man, it's been a while, Mike, but like you said, we'll get back on it, and we'll get this thing rolling again, man.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna kick you back to the green room and just hang around with me just 1 minute.
Sure.
Hey, thank y'all for joining the Main Contain Fishing Podcast once again. I'd like to thank Mike from Benya Outdoors for joining me on a short notice. If you hadn't subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit us up over at Southeast Georgia Kayak Bass Fishing on YouTube. All our socials, SCG KBF. If you're in the kayak fishing, got some tournaments on Tourney X, and we can get you in the tournament scene. Hit me up, ask questions. You can find me over at daniel@scgkbf.com. That's my email. So thank you for joining, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, for future shows, like, follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out our individual channels and accounts too. Want to be a guest on one of our shows and talk of adventures, gear, or products? Contact us. Thank you for watching The Noob Show with Matt Gibson, Chasing the Tide with Dustin Nichols, The Rusty Hook with John Rapp, The River Run with Adam Fraser Pross, May Contain Fishing with Daniel Woodcock, Chasing the 20s with Carlisle Esterly and Sean Lavery, Friday Night Bites with Brian Schiller. Thanks for tuning into the Paddle and Fin Network. Subscribe and always wear your PFD.